The big man who has been the heart and soul of the Detroit Pistons for so long. 7 times an NBA All-Star, Bob Lanier.
Over the course of our list, there has been a number of players that not only didn't make the top 75, but also didn't make the top 50 greatest players list 25 years ago. We have already gone through the likes of Dennis Johnson, Artis Gilmore, and a few more, but none has come closer to being a bigger snub for the top 50 than this star center of the 70s. Bob Lanier, the Pistons' greatest before the Bad Boys, and their all-time best center. The 20 and 10 a night beast with an amazing skill in the post, as well as a defensive anchor. He not only should have earned a spot on the top 50 list, but he's definitely earned a right to have his name discussed in the NBA's top 75 list. Robert Jerry Lanier, the 6'11", 250-pound lefty, was drafted by the Pistons in 1970 with the first pick. Didn't take long for him to make an impact, as by his second season, he was already averaging 25 points and 14 rebounds. The Dobber, as I believe that's how you say his nickname, made his name very quickly in the NBA, being one of the best centers at the time, which, with the legends he was playing up against, was a huge compliment. He had battles with greats like Wilt Chamberlain, Dave Cowens, Nate Thurmond, Bob McAdoo, Bill Walton, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Moses Malone, among a few more, all of which are members of the top 75. And he played great against each one of them, still putting up elite numbers despite the competition. He was a monster in the paint, finishing at the rim every chance he got. He was incredibly skilled in the post with a sweet left-hand hook shot as well as flawless footwork. Despite his size, he was even a little athletic and agile, running the floor and being a part of fast breaks. He was a beast on the glass, whether it was getting defensive rebounds to help start fast breaks or getting easy putbacks on the offensive glass. He was an underrated passer for a big man as well. And on the defensive side of the ball, he was just as good, racking up many block shots and even good at playing the passing lanes, getting some steals in spite of his position. From 1972 to 1979, the Dobber averaged 24 points, 12.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 2 blocks, and 1 steal while shooting over 50% from the field. Those are monster numbers and what you want to see from an elite player in any era. He made the All-Star game 7 times in that span, as well as winning All-Star Game MVP in 1974. While a member of the Pistons, Lanier led them to a franchise best at the time, 52 wins in the regular season. And 2 years later, in 1976, he would lead them to their first playoff series victory in over a decade, 14 years to be exact. The reason why I believe voters left off Bob Lanier on both the 50 greatest players list and the top 75 list is because, for one, he went through some injury problems and he only played 80 games 4 times in his career. And those 4 times were the first 4 years of his 14-year career. He was sometimes overshadowed by the other elite big men that was playing at the time, some of which I mentioned earlier. And of course, one of the main reasons why people would overlook a legend to begin with is because he doesn't have a championship. However, that shouldn't hinder what he has done in the NBA. He helped make the Pistons relevant again, as they weren't making the playoffs when he got there, and his first 3 years he was there. Even though they only made out the first round once, it wasn't any fault of his, as in his 20 playoff games with Detroit, he averaged 25 points, 14 rebounds, 2.5 blocks while shooting 54% from the field. He even made a big role with Milwaukee Bucks when he was traded from Detroit to Milwaukee in 1980, as he made his final All-Star appearance in 1982, and he was a key piece for those Bucks teams, helping them get to the Eastern Conference Finals as a role player in 1984. What could be even more egregious than anything else is that Bob Lanier's teammate on the Detroit Pistons in the 70s, Dave Bing, who was a very good player and was the second best player on those Pistons teams, made the NBA 75 and 50 greatest players list, while Bob didn't. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Dave Bing. Not even saying that he shouldn't have been on those teams, because as I did my research, Dave Bing was a really, really good player, really skilled player, and does have some accomplishments to have a case to be on the top 75. But Bob Lanier changed the Pistons and instantly became their best player. You can't have their second best player on those lists and not have the best player on the list. just doesn't make any sense to me. All in all, Bob Lanier has been overlooked and underappreciated for too long. He was an elite big man in the 70s who went up against elite big men. He was an 8-time All-Star, putting up 20 and 10 for his career, something that only 20 other players has done. He was the best player on a team for a decade that helped him gain relevancy once again, and he is to this day the best and greatest center to play for the Detroit Pistons. So, tell me, is Bob Lanier one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history?